Suleimani line up as goal defence. Run away. Rochford Wines, round 10 action. It was Claire Minnie with a centre pass, and Seville already inside the attacking third. Foster Jonathan with a long pass, and Hayley Howard into the action straight away. And she converts her first opportunity, gets her first goal for the Blues. And Seville with an early lead, 1 goal to zip. So Gemma Ryan out of the centre. Quick one onto Milne. Ryan is involved once again, finds Wandon Collins. As they work it around Casey, Wandon Collins puts too much on the pass to Parsons, and Milne can get Seville moving off the last line of defence. Long one from Elliott. Claire Minnie should be able to run into this, had Werner, but she went inboard and to Foster Jonathan. Here is Hayley Howard again. And Seville with an early break. Howard converts her second opportunity. And Seville with a 2-goal margin. Early days in the match of the round. So Claire Minnie back to Elliott, onto Werner in fact, but it was beautifully cut off on that occasion by Evans. Dobson, short pass to Milne. Evans again is involved. Here is Dobson. Short pass again through the hands of Milne. Werner, can she run onto it? No, couldn't quite complete the job. Wandon Collins found Gemma Ryan. Parsons unable to collect, and here is Louisa Suleimani. Goes back to Taylor Milne. Minnie, Milne, Elliott. Lateral pass all the way across to Suleimani, who finds Werner, who presented nicely. Over the top, back to Cleo Minnie. Has Hayley Howard up ahead, goes for her. Already got 2 goals, Hayley Howard, and she's got 3. And this is a quick start for the Blues. So Gemma Ryan again with a centre pass. Comes all the way back to Milne. Milne. Long pass there from Wandon Collins. And again, they force a turnover. Elliott comes out wide and finds Cleo Minnie. Retreats to Suleimani. Elliott again is involved. Here is Foster Jonathan. Elliott. Werner. Just goes short to Genesis Foster Jonathan, and again finds Hayley Howard. Werner, and contact given away from Milne. So Hayley Howard has another goal. 4 goals to zip. Cleo Minnie onto Foster Jonathan. Short one to Taylor Werner. Suleimani, long to Werner, and Howard cleverly collected. And doesn't convert, and Yarra Glen are straight onto this, but this ball should trickle out of play. Claire Minnie gets there anyway. Foster Jonathan comes back to Minnie. Suleimani, Minnie again. Wasn't the most favourable pass, but she made it work anyway. Puts it up, Howard. Cleverly done, and she's got her 5th goal. 5 goals to zip, and the Blues are running away with this very quickly. So again, Gemma Ryan onto Wandon Collins. Lara to Casey. Has Parsons out wide. Goes for it. Parsons all the way back to Casey. Wandon Collins over the top to Gemma Ryan. Elliott came in to affect it. Gave away contact. Ryan over the top. Parsons gets her first real look at goal. Gets a second chance. Does Imogen Parsons. Needs to make this work, and she does. And Yarra Glen needed that desperately, and they've got it. 5 goals to 1. Cleo Minnie out wide to Werner, onto Foster Jonathan. And straight to the hands of Hayley Howard, who's got another goal, and it's back to a 5-goal difference just like that. So Gemma Ryan, again with the centre pass, could have gone back to Evans, but goes out wide to Casey Wandon Collins. Back to Ryan. Puts it up and finds Lara Wandon Collins, and through the hands of Parsons. And the Seville defence have been pretty flawless to start off this game. Milne, Minnie, got contact from Ryan. So it comes back to Milne, out wide to Elliott. Up the court to Cleo Minnie, that was a good one. Here is Hayley Howard. Goes back to Foster Jonathan. Cleo Minnie again involved. Puts it up for Hayley Howard, and just got a real height advantage on Elise Dobson. Does Howard, and she's got another goal. Makes it a 6-goal difference. Minnie out wide, Werner. I think the pass was intended for Foster Jonathan, but it ended up with Cleo Minnie. Here is Werner. Hasn't lined up for goal just yet today. Allowed Hayley Howard to do all the shooting, but Taylor Werner, for the first time today, does line up and does convert. And makes it a 7-goal difference, more importantly. So this is blowing out very quickly. 8 goals already, and don't even think we've had 5 minutes of game time. Milne to Wanda Collins and back to Milne. Looked at Ryan, but Went further ahead to Casey, wanted Collins, Imogen Parsons, knocked away by Taylor Milne. And through the hands of Parsons, said the umpire, so Milne with a one-on-one win, finds Elliott. She'll go back to Milne, goes out wide to Suleimani, looks at Foster Jonathan, that's where she goes. Milne again to Suleimani, short one to Cleo Mini, could go inboard, that's where she goes to Foster Jonathan. And nothing going right at the moment for Yarra Glen. It is all one-way traffic at the moment, Foster Jonathan. Werner over the top, Howard. Make that 8 goals of difference, 9 goals to 1. And Claire Mini with another centre pass. And it's just been a seamless start here for the Blues. Werner, Foster Jonathan, Mini. Werner again, Howard again. About to make this a 9 goal difference. Misses, but it doesn't matter because Taylor Werner was right there to rebound. She converts, and it is a 9 goal difference now, 10 goals to 1. Wandon Collins of the Casey variety, out to Lara Wandon Collins, back to Casey. Looked at Gemma Ryan, but again to Lara Wandon Collins, and two sisters working in tandem here, but it's knocked away. Can Minnie run onto this? Foster Jonathan, maybe. Absolute chaos in the centre here of the netball. Werner. Foster Jonathan, Howard. Can she make this a 10 goal difference? No, she can't. And Elise Dobson right there to rebound. Short pass is a good one to Evans. Waits and eventually finds Milne. Dobson, Evans, or it was Milne, sorry, in fact to Wandon Collins, and that ball just flying out of play, and Taylor Milne can get the Blues moving out of defence. Laterally to Suleimani, looks at Elliott, she put too much on that, no. Minnie able to collect it pretty cleanly to Foster Jonathan, good long pass. Werner, Foster Jonathan, Howard to the front, comes back to Cleo Mini, has a short option of Taylor Werner, but she puts it up for Howard, and it was a good feed, nicely clicked in the one hand by Hayley Howard. She makes it a 10 goal difference. And Seville just unstoppable at the moment. Foster Jonathan, Werner, back to Foster Jonathan, all the way across to Howard. Little short one to Cleo Mini, and that's a good feed. I think there might be contact given away there by Jessie Milne, and there was. So Werner gets another look at goal. And she converts 11 goals of difference, 12 goals to 1. Nothing really going here for Yarra Glen, it has to be said. Evans, Wandon Collins, Lara to Casey. Comes back to Evans. Here is Gemma Ryan. Parsons gets to the front spot. That's a good feed. And a short one to Wandon Collins. Finds Parsons, who's got the only goal so far for Yarra Glen. And Imogen Parsons gets the second. And every goal so crucial at the moment for the River Pigs. 10 goals adrift they are. Werner all the way back to Minnie. Howard can make this 11 goals a difference, and she does. 13 to 2. And already interchange for Yarra Glen. Serena Gibbs, I believe it is. Wanda Collins comes back to Evans. Parsons. Just got some contact from Milne. So Lara Wanda Collins with her first real look at goal. Doesn't convert. And through the hands of Parsons, said the umpire, so Milne can get the Blues moving out of defence. Elliott back to Milne. Looks up ahead, goes short, and once again back to Elliott. Suleimani to Werner in the middle of the court. Here is Foster Jonathan. Over the top, little short one was a good one to Werner. Comes back to Cleo Mini. Howard calls for it long and got to her, but there was a contact call against Milne. Howard eventually ends up with it. There's another goal for the Blues. Make it 12 goals of difference, 14 goals to 2. Mini, short one to Foster Jonathan. Quickly moves it into the attacking third to Werner. Comes back to Cleo Mini. Long feed, good feed. Howard Just got such a high advantage on Dobson. She converts another one, 15 goals to 2. It's a 13-goal difference. Evans. Evans out wide, Gibbs. Evans really unsure where to go. Seville defence is not letting a whole lot through. Wanda Collins. Long drive and Parsons couldn't make it work. It's trickled out of play and Milne again. Short one to Suleimani. Goes long. Clemente made it work. Over the top to Elliott. Good work rate. Comes back inboard and finds Werner. Onto Foster-Jonathan. Back to Werner. Howard. Double team for the moment. Comes back to Foster-Jonathan. Werner. Howard got it. And Hayley Howard makes it a 14-goal difference. 16 goals to 2. Minnie. Werner. Foster-Jonathan. Taylor Werner again. Foster-Jonathan too. Won't have the shot at goal again. Just happy to feed to Hayley Howard. And she's got another one. 17 goals to 2. It's a 15-goal difference. Gibbs. Out wide to Wanda Collins. Waits and waits. Finds Casey Wanda Collins. Back to Lara. Over the top. Parsons. Wanda Collins comes back to Lara. Goes to Casey. Oh. Seville defence working overtime here and really making Yarra Glen earn it. Wanda Collins eventually gets a clean look at goal and she does convert. And as I said before, goals are like cold at the moment for Yarra Glen. 17 goals to 3 it is at the moment. Minnie over the top to Foster-Jonathan. Comes back inboard to Minnie. Goes out wide to Werner. Foster-Jonathan. No, Evans cuts it off. So they force an interception to the River Pigs. Dobson back to Evans and Wanda Collins now involved. Evans again. Milne. Out wide to Gibbs. Long pass. Parsons again. Feed wasn't the most favourable. Minnie over the top to Elliott. Got plenty of room to work with. Suleimani's all in her own as well. Elliott short. Foster-Jonathan. Werner gets front spot. Long feed. Good one. Howard goes back to Werner. She goes back to Howard. Hayley Howard converts. Back to 15 goals the difference. 18 goals to 3. Gibbs. Milne. Long feed. To Parsons. Wanda Collins. Just didn't make that one work. So Milne. Milne up the court to Clemente. Comes back to Milne, who just kept it in play. Suleimani. Elliott. Lost a little bit of control here, Seville, but they've still made it work into the attacking third. And here is Hayley Howard again. She can make this a 16-goal difference. And she does. 19 goals to 3. Clemente. Werner. Foster-Jonathan. Back to Werner. And Hayley Howard again. Another goal. 17 goals the difference. 20 goals to 3. It's just an avalanche at the moment for the Blues. Wanda Collins to Parsons. And Imogen Parsons makes it work. Gets the 4th goal for the River Pigs, her 3rd. Foster-Jonathan, nicely done. Werner, long pass, and here is Howard. And she converts. So back to that 17-goal difference, 21 goals to 4. Wanda Collins comes inboard. Bit of contact given away from Elliott. Parsons, good work rate. Got front position as it kept in play. Thumped back in by Suleimani. Umpire said it already trickled out. So a little reprieve here for Yarra Glen in attack. Wanda Collins. Oh. And it came off the hands of Lara Wanda Collins. So Taylor Milne again can get the Blues moving out of defence. Looks at Suleimani. It goes short to Elliott. Long drive, and that's a good one too to Suleimani over the head of Werner, and a rare mistake from the Blues. A reprieve for the Yarra Glen defence, and I think that quarter-time siren is a very welcome sound for the River Pigs, who are currently 17 goals adrift, 21 goals to 4, and a dominant display by the two. Second quarter action of the Rochford Wines match of the round, round 10 between Seville and Yarra Glen. If you're just tuning in, the River Pigs, a dominant display, 17 goals adrift they are, 21 goals to 4, and make it 18 goals the difference, 22 goals to 4. Seamless start to this second quarter. And Gibbs misses with the centre pass, and the Blues are going to win the ball right back. So Taylor Milne can just go short to Suleimani. Out wide to Minnie. Werner calls for it. She's on it. Goes back to Cleo Minnie. Howard calls for it over the back, and she's going to get it. Good feed from Minnie. Another goal for Hayley Howard. 19 goals a difference, 23 to 4. And Cleo Minnie with another centre pass. Short one to Werner. Inboard to Tucker, who comes onto the court for the first time today. Cleo Minnie is involved. Tucker calls for it out wide. Minnie decides to go with a shorter option to Werner. Minnie puts it up for Howard. Howard for another goal, and she's got it. It's a 20-goal difference now, 24 goals to 4. Gibbs, Wandon Collins, the Casey variety. Comes back to Milne, waits and waits through the hands of Parsons, and Cleo Minnie with a pretty easy interception. Goes out wide to Suleimani, on to Werner. Tucker calls for it, but it's gone over her head, and Dobson escorts it over the line. And Yarra Glen win the ball back. Sorry, not Werner. In fact, that was Dobson, or nearly cut off by Howard, but unable to make it work. Evans, Milne. Dobson calls for it from behind, but it'll go to Gibbs. Out wide to Casey Wandon Collins. Milne. Nearly cut off by Tucker. Suleimani, can she run onto it? No, she can't. Wandon Collins back to Milne. Now Lara Wandon Collins over to Casey Wandon Collins. Lara Wandon Collins lines up, and Parsons can't keep it in play. So Milne off the last side of defence for the Blues. To Elliott, back to Milne. Could go to Suleimani, that's where she goes with a little look-away pass. Suleimani again over the head of Gibbs. Suleimani nearly lost control of the ball, didn't matter. Long drive is a good one. Into the hands of Tucker. She finds Cleo Minnie, puts it up for Howard, who's got it. And Hayley Howard converts. 21 goals the difference, 25 goals to 4. Minnie. Tucker. Werner. Comes inboard and goes back to Tucker. Cleo Minnie again is involved. So Alexis Tucker, can she go short to Werner? Waits and waits, and eventually that's what she does. And really good feed again to Hayley Howard, who can extend this margin to 22 goals, and she does. 26 goals to 4. And the Blues just continuing their domination from the first quarter. 5 goals already unanswered in this second quarter. Casey Wandon Collins, long one to Parsons. Parsons laterally to Gibbs. Short one to Lara Wandon Collins to Casey Wandon Collins. And here is Parsons out the back, just keeps her footing in the quarter play, and she converts and gets the first goal for the River Pigs in this second quarter. Cleo Minnie, Werner, Tucker. Minnie calls for it. Good work right there from Cleo Minnie. Could go short to Werner, but just puts it up for Hayley Howard, and she can push this right back out to 22 goals. And she does. 27 to 5. Gibbs goes out wide. Wandon Collins back to Gibbs. Parsons has got it. And just has to put this through. And she does. Imogen Parsons, she converts. So she hasn't really been given too many opportunities today, but she's made a few count when she's got them. Werner. Could have gone to Minnie, but decided to go laterally to Tucker. She'll go back to Werner. Claire Minnie this time is honoured. Back to Tucker for a third time in this passage. Minnie. Howard wants it long, and she's going to get it. Steps away from Dobson. And converts another goal, back to 22 goals the difference, 28-6. Gibbs goes back to Milne. Lara wanted Collins to Casey, wanted Collins. Nice collect, but she's thrown it straight to Taylor Milne. Easy interception. Milne got it from Elliott. Out wide to Suleimani. Here is Tucker, who presented nicely. Werner, no, goes to Suleimani. Now Minnie. Werner now was honoured. And Howard got it again. And she pushes it out to 23 goals the difference. New biggest lead of the game. Tucker just goes with a short one back to Minnie. She goes all the way back to Suleimani. That's a hot one off the hands and straight into Claire Minnie's hands. And it's going to stay with the Blues. So Lex Tucker tucked away in the pocket. Short one. Howard. Make it 24 goals the difference, 30-6. And they continue this domination. Morton Collins. Lara to Casey. Gibbs, no, straight into the hands of Louisa Suleimani. Werner comes inboard, finds Elliott. Thought about Suleimani, but went further to Tucker. Goes out wide to Minnie. She goes laterally to Taylor Werner. And a long feed is a good one to Hayley Howard. And she's just such a weapon in that goal circle. Taylor Werner now hasn't had too many shots at goal today. She's left them all for Hayley Howard, but she does convert that one. Now it is a 25 goal difference, 6-31. Tucker, Werner, back to Tucker. A little bit of contact. Howard again just wants it long, and that's what Seville have been happy to do, and it's worked pretty well for them. She converts another one, 26 goals the difference. 32-6. Wanted Collins. Lara to Casey. Casey back to Lara. And then back to Casey, and here is Parsons. Offline, doesn't convert. So Milne out of defence to Suleimani. Elliott. Minnie. Up the court to Tucker. Looks up ahead, finds Werner. Minnie. Werner. And Howard. Contact given away from Dobson. So Hayley Howard to make it 27 goals a difference, and she makes no mistake, 33-6. Minnie, Tucker. Werner, Howard. 28 goals a difference, 34-6. Long feed from Gibbs, and here is Parsons, who gets one back for the River Pigs. They get it back to 27 goals the difference at the least. Werner. Minnie. Howard. Oh, how about that? In between two Yarra Glen defenders. Made no mistake. She converts back to 28 goals the difference. And to Westhausen, who's now in the centre, I believe. Wanted Collins to Parsons, who just found a bit of room in that goal circle, and she converts another one. So back to 27 goals. Minnie out wide to Werner. She comes inboard to Tucker. Long feed, and a rare mistake from the Blues. Just getting a bit creative, didn't quite work out from on that occasion, but I guess when you're 27 goals adrift, it probably doesn't matter too much. Van der Westhausen, Dobson, Evans. Long drive is a good one to Wanted Collins. Lara to Casey, another long drive to Van der Westhausen. And they've coughed it up, the River Pigs. Tucker, receiving it from Milne. Long drive, good one. Werner, Howard called for it long, won't get it. Miniel feed to Howard now. 28 goals a difference, no. A rare mistake from Hayley Howard. And a big reprieve for the River Pigs defence. Evans, long drive. Wanda Collins. Lara to Casey. She goes inboard to Vander Westhausen. Back to Casey. Wanda Collins. That pass was affected by Cleo Mini, but the River Pigs maintain possession. And Suleimani just thumps it out of play. Wanda Collins. Casey to Lara, and that's not going to work. And eventually Parsons gets one back for the River Pigs, 35-9. Wanda Collins laterally to Evans. Comes inboard, Vander Westhausen. Little underground pass works out to Wanda Collins. So they've been able to string a couple together here, Yarra Glen, which is something they haven't been able to do all day. A little interchange here for Seville, so Clementi comes off. Genesis Foster-Jonathan now gets an opportunity through the centre. And they get another one to the River Pigs, so they hit double digits late in the second quarter. And at least get the margin back to 25. Tucker, Werner. Over the head of Foster-Jonathan, and that'll trickle out of play. And suddenly just starting to get a little bit of momentum with the River Pigs. They can make this transition work. I believe that'll be 4 goals in a row. Lara Wanda Collins to Casey Wanda Collins. Comes back to Evans. Vander Westhausen turned Ashlyn Elliott inside out and then finds Lara Wanda Collins. Can she make it 4 in a row for the River Pigs? Milne thumped it out of play, so it stays with Yarra Glen. Parsons. Can she make it 4 in a row? She can. So back to 24 goals the difference, 35-11. It's been a good couple of minutes from the River Pigs. So the two Wanda Collins sisters again working in tandem. Long feed as well and truly over the head of Milne and Parsons. And Milne can get the Blues moving out of defence. Has a short option of Suleimani, but finds Foster-Jonathan. Over the top to Tucker. Tucker finds Werner. Foster-Jonathan. Good hard run on the outside. Back to Werner. Foster-Jonathan puts it up, and here is Hayley Howard, who converts, gets it back to 25 goals of difference, and the Blues get one back after a little swing of momentum for Yarra Glen. Foster-Jonathan, Werner. Comes back to Tucker. Foster-Jonathan. Howard calls for it long, and she's going to get it. And back-to-back goals for the Blues, 37-11. Vander Westhausen. Casey Wanda Collins. Elliott, Foster-Jonathan, Tucker. Could have gone to Werner, goes longer and still going to stay with the Blues. Taylor Werner lines up and she converts. 37 goals to 12. Foster-Jonathan, Tucker. Comes back to Foster-Jonathan. Long drive, good feed, Howard. And straight back out to 28 goals of difference. So just as they start to make a couple of inroads, Yarra Glen, it's all been broken. Parsons has turned it straight over. Werner, Howard out the back. And there's another one for the Blues. 29 goals of difference, 40 goals to 11. They're just dominating this contest at the moment, Seville. Foster-Jonathan, Suleimani with plenty of room to work with. Comes back to Foster-Jonathan. Werner, Foster-Jonathan for a third time. Here is Howard, who's about to make it a 30-goal difference, and she does, 41-11. Just so clean from these centre passes, the Blues. Wanda Collins. Casey to Lara. Long feed's a good one. Here is Parsons, who gets one back for the River Pigs, 41-12. Tucker, Werner, puts it up for Howard and just couldn't quite make that one work. So Elise Dobson with a 1-on-1 victory against Hayley Howard. Pops it over the top to Milne, who's back on the court. Evans looks up ahead. Suleimani, hasn't cut it off legally. And that will do us for half-time in the Rochford Wines match of the round between Yarra, Glen and Seville. 29 and run away in the second half in the Rochford Wines match of the round. Casey Wanda-Collins out wide to Lara Wanda-Collins. Little underground feed to Lara. Gets it from Evans. And Wanda-Collins doesn't convert. And beautifully done by Parsons, who does convert. And so Seville have swung a few changes. Jenison Foster-Johnson does stay in the centre. Clearmin's gone into wing defence. Ashlyn Elliott is in goal defence. Tucker stays as wing attack, and the goaler combo of Howard and Werner remains. Howard, Tucker. And here is Taylor Werner, who converts another opportunity. Back out to a 29 goal difference, 13-42. Evans. Could have gone back to Van der Westhausen, but here is Parsons, who's changing to goal attack, and Wanda Collins has gone to goal shooter. Wanda Collins. Wanda Collins comes back to Evans. She goes back inboard to Wanda Collins, and Parsons is going to get it out the back. Had a pretty good start to this second quarter as Imogen Parsons, and she converts that opportunity. 42-14. Foster-Johnson to Tucker. Werner presented, but it'll come back to Cleomini. Foster-Johnson, cleverly done to Werner, and beautifully cut up by Evans. And Yarra Glen with a bit more life in so far in this second half. Van der Westhausen, long drive is a good one. Finds Parsons, comes back to Wanda Collins. Parsons calls for it again. She's honoured. Can she make it back-to-back goals for the River Pigs? Not with the first opportunity, but with the second. And this is a lot more like it from Yarra Glen. Suddenly they get things rolling. It's a long way back, but there is still plenty of time in this game. And this is the sort of intensity that they need to bring. Van der Westhausen. Parsons. Wanted Collins, calls for it. Evans got rid of it probably just in time. Lara wanted Collins. Can she make it 3 in a row for the River Pigs? You bet she can. 16-42. So Genesis Foster-Johnson, can they force an interception here? The River Pigs. Tucker to Werner. Back to Tucker. Howard. And Hayley Howard converts. Back to 27 goals the difference, 43-16. Wanted Collins. Casey to Lara. And then she goes across to Parsons, who will line up the goals and doesn't convert. And Ashlyn Elliott. Nice rebound off the post. Tucker comes back to Cleomini. On to Werner. Werner back inboard. Good one to Tucker. Back to Cleomini. She'll go back to Tucker. Inboard to Foster-Johnson. Long drive. It's over the head of Howard. And Yarra Glen with a little win in defence. Dobson off the last line. Goes short. Van der Westhausen just gets it under her control. Comes back to Dobson. Has Gibbs as a short option. Evans back to Dobson. Looks around. Eventually decides to go out wide to Gibbs. Comes back to Dobson. Dobson. Evans. Long drive. Parsons collected it nicely. Looks for Wanted Collins but missed her. And Seville win the ball back. Taylor Milne, who's been a mainstay as goalkeeper today. Elliott out wide to Minnie, onto Foster-Johnson. Comes back to Cleomini. Again, Foster-Johnson been pretty busy in this passage. Werner. How's the umpire see this one? It is going to go the way of the River Pigs, so at least Dobson a few more one-on-one wins in that defensive third for the River Pigs. Gibbs, Evans. On to Casey Wanted Collins, long drive. Here is Parsons. Back to Casey Wanted Collins, can go underground to Lara Wanted Collins. All the way back to Evans, Wanted Collins, front position. Could you get this back to 26 goals? Wanted Collins converts, 43-17. Tucker. Out wide to Minnie, long drive, Foster-Johnson to Werner, who can push it back out to 27 goals, and she does. So nice quick response there from the Blues, who suddenly find themselves on a little bit more of a fight in this second half. The River Pigs bring a bit more intensity. Wanton Collins, Parsons, across to Casey Wanton Collins. Lara Wanton Collins calls for it. Again, the two sisters work in tandem. Wanton Collins steps away from Elliott and doesn't convert. Gets another look though. And Lara Wanton Collins again unable to convert. I think that was off the hands of Elliott. Yes, it was. Evans. Milne. Does she keep it in? Yes, she does. Has she turned it over? Van der Westhausen knocks it back into the attacking third. That won't matter, though, because it was collected by Elliott, who found Minnie onto Werner, quickly onto Alexis Tucker. And here is Howard, dominating in that goal circle for the Blues, and she pushes it back out to 28 goals the difference, 45-17. Foster-Jonathan out of the centre to Werner. Tucker wasn't the most favourable pass. And Elise Dobson, with ball in hand, could go laterally to Gibbs, but goes further ahead to Evans, who spilled it momentarily, but recovered. Gibbs. Nicely done to Parsons, who presents nicely up the court. Van der Westhausen, Gibbs. Long drive, good one to Wanton Collins, to Casey Wanton Collins. Again, Lara and Casey working in tandem. Lara comes back to Jazz Evans, and now she will line up the goals. No. Little fake to Imogen Parsons, who can't convert. Milne, beautifully done. Clever interception. She's got Claire Minnie out wide, who's got plenty of room to work with up the court, and a good one to Werner, who finds Tucker. Looked at Foster-Jonathan, but retreats to Elliott. Laterally to Cleo Minnie. Onto Werner. Howard wants it long. Oh, how about that from Van der Westhausen? Clever interception. And Yarra Glen are on the counter-attack. Here is Parsons. Quickly moves it on to Lara Wanted Collins. Casey Wanted Collins is now involved. Evans called for it, but it came back to Gibbs. Evans again, long drive, Elliott, front spot, falls over and... And Ashlyn Elliott, that is a nasty one, and... Did have a similar injury in the preliminary final last year when she was playing for Warby, and hope everything's okay. So I hope everything's okay there for Ashlyn Elliott. She does have to come off. I believe that was an ankle issue. So Louisa Soleimani does come back on. Alexis Tucker to Taylor Werner. And Taylor Werner converts. And in all the chaos, Seville push it back out to 29 goals a difference. Nearly cut off by Foster-Jonathan. Here is Lara Wanted Collins. Can she trim the margin back down to 28? She can, 18-46. Foster-Jonathan. A little rare mistake there from the Blues. So Dobson, Evans, comes back to Gibbs, out wide to Van der Westhausen. Lara Wanted Collins, retreats to Van der Westhausen. Evans again is involved to Wanted Collins. The Blues defence not making this easy for the River Pigs. Wanted Collins back to, was off Evans' hands into Wanted Collins' hands. Doesn't convert. Parsons though, snatched that one up quickly and makes it back-to-back goals for the River Pigs, back to 27. 46-19. So Jazz Evans has to come off for the blood rule, and interesting conversation there. Umpire said, "Is that blood on your leg?" Jazz Evans claimed that it was dry, but it doesn't quite work that way, unfortunately. And a little switch here for the Blues. Alexis Tucker comes into centre and Genesis Foster-Jonathan back in a wing attack. Funny little exchange, that one. Anyway. So Casey Wanda-Collins. So Gemma Ryan back onto the court for the first time since the first quarter. Comes back to Vander Westhausen. Lara Wanda-Collins to Parsons. Could potentially make this 3 goals in a row for the River Pigs, who again have just found a bit of life in this third quarter. This has definitely been their best quarter of the game so far. Gets it back to 26 goals the difference, 46-20. Foster-Jonathan Ryan cuts it up and it works out to Elise Dobson. So some good defensive work from the River Pigs. Long drive, works out to Casey Wanda-Collins, looks inboard, comes back to Gemma Ryan. Thought about Gibbs, but goes further to Lara Wanda-Collins. Lara to Casey, back to Vander Westhausen, right on a measure here. Parsons. Lara Wanda-Collins, back to Casey Wanda-Collins. Looks up ahead and that feed's not going to work. Trickles out of play and the Blues can reset from defence. Out wide to Cleomini. Long drive, finds Louisa Suleimani, onto Werner in fact. Foster-Jonathan, Howard calls for it long and she's gonna get it. Gibbs and Dobson doing everything they can, but she's just got too much of a height advantage as Hayley Howard and she pushes her back out to 27 goals a difference, 47-20. Ryan really unsure where to go eventually to Vander Westhausen. And that's a good long drive, good feed. Parsons finishes the job for the River Pigs, gets it back to 26 goals, 47-21. Tucker over the top to Foster-Jonathan, back to Tucker. Finds Werner, back to Foster-Jonathan. I think there's a bit of contact there from Gibbs, it was. Howard with front position, a little bit too easy that one, and Thompson just knocks it out of her hands, and that's not going to fly, says the umpire. And Hayley Howard converts, 48-21. Gemma Ryan. Parsons comes back to Wanda-Collins. Casey to Lara. Parsons did well. Just found some separation from Suleimani. And she converts the goal, 48-22. So some good fight here from the River Pigs, not letting the margin blow out too much from the half-time margin. In fact, they've made some little inroads because it was 29 goals the difference at half-time, but it's back to 26 for the moment, and they've forced a turnover here. So this might be an opportunity if they can successfully transition this ball and convert another goal. Dobson. Vander Westhausen looks around, eventually goes to Gibbs. She'll go back to Dobson. Ryan with a bit of room to work with is honoured. Comes back to Dobson. Ryan wants to go long, but she goes laterally to Gibbs. Looks at Casey Wanda-Collins. Eventually, that's where she will go. She can put him inside the attacking third. Decides to hold off, and this mightn't work out, and it won't. Suleimani, Tucker, laterally to Minnie. Taylor Werner gets front position. Presented nicely. Tucker. Long one. Gibbs knocks it away from Howard, but can't keep it in play, so it will stay with the Blues. Foster-Jonathan to throw it back in. Little fake to Tucker and then went to Werner, who lines up the goals and converts and puts it back out to a 27-goal difference, 49-22. Parsons. Back to Vander Westhausen. Long drive and over everyone's head, and it's going to come back for Seville. Taylor Milne to Minnie. Tucker. Long drive. Foster-Jonathan. Back to Minnie. Onto Tucker. Looks inboard and finds Taylor Werner. And good long drive, and Taylor Werner puts it back out to a 28-goal difference. 50-22. Werner knocked away from Howard. And good defensive work from the River Pigs, but the Blues retain possession. Comes back to Cleomini, on to Foster-Jonathan. Out wide to Werner. Back to Foster-Jonasson. And Taylor Werner eventually finds a spot that she likes, and she converts another opportunity, and it is back out to that half-time margin of 29 goals. Gemma Ryan out wide. Gibbs. Wandon Collins. Through the hands of Claire Mini. On to Gemma Ryan, and that feed's not going to work for the River Pigs. And Seville can start to move out of defence. Milne goes long and finds Cleo Mini onto Foster-Jonasson. Looks up ahead. Interesting one. It works out in the end for Werner. Here is Tucker. Will she go inboard? No, she'll go long, and she finds Howard, who can make this a 30-goal difference. And she does eventually, 52-22. So the new biggest lead of the game now for the Blues, extending upon their half-time margin. Foster-Jonasson, Werner eventually gets it under her control. Tucker, Foster-Jonasson, back to Werner. Eventually Howard makes it work. She goes back to Foster-Jonasson. Couple of 1-2s, and Taylor Werner now with an opportunity. Dobson gets it back for Yarra Glen. Gibbs, Dobson, Ryan, Mini affected it, but Wandon Collins recovered nicely. Vander Westhausen finds Lara. Wandon Collins, Ryan, does she keep it in? No, she doesn't, and that'll do us for three-quarter time here in the Rochford Wines match of the round. It is an even 30-goal margin for the Blues. 52-22 is the score. We'll head off to our three-quarter time break, and when we come back, all on between Yarra Glen and Seville. It's the Blues by 30 goals. It's Jazz Evans with the centre pass, and we are underway in the final quarter. Milne out to Evans, who's back on the court after being sent off with a blood rule, and already a turnover here from the River Pigs. Cleo Mini, Foster-Jonasson, Tucker, who's played a lot in the centre in this second half. Mini to Foster-Jonasson. Lex Tucker out to Werner. Back to Tucker. Howard wants it to be put up. Tucker decides to go the shorter option. Taylor Werner, though, and that'll work just fine. She'll convert and push it out to 31 goals a difference. That's the new biggest lead of the game. Werner, Tucker. Howard converts. 32 goals a difference, 54-22. Dobson, Evans. The two Wandon Collins sisters working in tandem. And just couldn't quite make that one work. And there we go, they get one back to the River Pigs. Milne, Werner knocks it out of play. Vander Westhausen, Dobson. Casey Wandon Collins. Back to Dobson, who's moved into goal defence for this last quarter. Wandon Collins of the Lara variety. Evans through the hands of Mini, and that worked out beautifully. And then to Taylor Milne. Mini's going to get it back. Tucker provides a bit of run. Comes back to Claire Mini. Longer drive. Werner presented nicely. She goes laterally to Suleimani. Suleimani over the top. And they can go back the other way. Evans. Vander Westhausen up the court to Wandon Collins. Lara Wandon Collins back to Evans. Dobson, Evans. Looked at Parsons, goes back to Wandon Collins though. Here is Casey Wandon Collins. Eventually that one just falls into the lap of Evans. And Lara Wandon Collins can line up the goals, and she can get it back to a 30-goal difference, and she does. 54-24. Parsons. And that'll do. Seville can counter-attack. Mini. Waste no time onto Tucker. Howard. With front spot, Annalise Dobson converts another goal and pushes it back out to 31 goals the difference, 55 to 24. Werner has turned it straight over, and a rare mistake from the Blues. Milne, Dobson. Casey wanted Collins, long drive, works out to Lara, wanted Collins, comes inboard to Evans. Evans, back to wanted Collins, and here is Parsons with front position. Who can get one back for the River Pigs. And she converts, back to 30 goals the difference, 55 to 25. Evans out of the centre to Parsons. Laterally, Casey wanted Collins, over the head of Lara wanted Collins, who does keep it in play. Comes back to Casey, short one again to Lara, and cut straight off by Alexis Tucker. She wasn't going to let that one get through. Werner, laterally to Suleimani. Mini call for it on the outside, she won't get it though. Here it is Tucker, Howard. And the Blues can push it straight back out to 31 goals the difference, 56 to 25. Tucker goes to Mini on the outside, she goes back to Tucker. Couple of 1-2s here, Werner. Taylor Werner, make that 32 goals the difference, maybe not. And this is going to work out here for Yarra Glen. Savannah Westhausen out of defence for the River Pigs. Short one to Milne. Long drive to Wanton Collins. Evans. Lara wanted Collins now. Back to Evans. All the way across to Casey wanted Collins. Evans again been pretty busy in this passage of play. And Suleimani, how about that? Vintage Louisa Suleimani interception. She just reads the play so well. Foster Jonathan. Back to Cleo Mini. On to Werner. And here is Hayley Howard. And Hayley Howard converts. Yet another goal. And she's been very impressive in her first game for Seville. All the way back to Dobson. Evans. Mini knocks it away. Foster Jonathan couldn't quite collect it. So the River Pigs retain possession. And this isn't going to work out. The Blues will keep it in play and they can counter-attack once again, Seville. Tucker will go long to Cleo Mini. Had plenty of room to work with. Looks at Foster Jonathan, but she goes longer to Taylor Werner. Tucker wants Howard, but goes for Werner. And here is Hayley Howard now. And Hayley Howard doesn't convert, and Dobson did well. Off the post. So Gibbs, who's moved into wing attack, and she's been everywhere today in terms of positioning. Wanted Collins. Parsons with front position. With an opportunity. No, she won't convert. Suleimani. Foster Jonathan. Foster Jonathan, can she keep it in play? Yes, she can. Werner. Blindsided for a moment. Didn't quite know where the ball was. Doesn't matter anyway. She feeds to Hayley Howard, who eventually pushes the margin out to 33 goals. 58 to 25, and Tucker's got the centre pass, so they can continue to push this out. Can the Blues? Tucker waits and waits and then goes short to Foster Jonathan. Foster Jonathan, Werner lines them up and doesn't convert. And Elise Dobson's had a pretty good last quarter, but won't work out. But a little reprieve for Yarra Glen, who'd nearly made a pretty costly error. Vander Westhausen, long drive, good one to Parsons. Looks inboard, finds Gibbs, back to Evans. Cleo Mini, how about that? What a clever interception that was. Taylor Werner finds Foster Jonathan. Finds Tucker. Howard had plenty of room to work with, but Tucker couldn't collect it cleanly. It won't matter because here's Taylor Werner anyway. She lines him up and she converts, and she makes it 34 goals the difference, 59 to 25. Mini did well. Some really good defensive work these last couple of minutes by Cleo Mini. Tucker. Werner. And Hayley Howard, there's another one, 60-25. And they continue this domination. Taylor Werner finds Tucker. Werner again is involved. Here is Hayley Howard. She can make this 36 goal the difference. And she makes no mistake, 61-25. And again, it's just an avalanche of goals like it was in the first half. Here we go. Knocked away. Milne, Evans. Pulls it out wide to Gibbs. Finds Evans, and she gets it to Parsons. And Parsons does get one back for the River Pigs, 26-61. Genesis Foster-Jonathan laterally to Cleo Mini, onto Alexis Tucker. And again, a long feed to Hayley Howard. And she converts 62-26. Long drive, and that's not going to find anyone. And unfortunately, just been a bit of the story of the day for Yarra Glen. They've just been completely outclassed by a top-tier Seville side who will stay undefeated in season 2025. They've muddled this up a little bit, but it doesn't matter. Cleo Mini mopped it up nicely and keeps their side moving into attack. Tucker goes out wide to Werner. Hayley Howard again wants it long, and she gets the rebound off the hands of Foster-Jonathan. And Hayley Howard. Rare mistake, but she converts a second opportunity anyway. So out to 37 goals. Tucker's got the centre pass. 63-26 is now the score. Foster-Jonathan, Werner, Howard. Whose hand was that off? Off the hand of Vander Westhausen. So Taylor Werner has turned it over. So rare Seville mistake. Milne. Up the court, a good one to Gibbs. Long drive, finds Lara Wanted Collins, looks around, goes short to Evans. Evans retreats back to Dobson. She goes back to Evans. Wanted Collins wants it wide. And she can't take it cleanly. So Milne out of defence. Mini looks up ahead, but goes short to Tucker. Tucker moves it on to Werner, who presented nicely. Back to Alexis Tucker. Long one, but beautifully cut off by Vander Westhausen. And the River Pigs with a rare 1-on-1 victory against Hayley Howard. They've been hard today. Milne, Evans, Parsons. Little underground one works out, does it? No. Gibbs couldn't keep it in play. So there's nothing really going here for the River Pigs. Lateral pass goes to Suleimani, then it comes back. Tucker looks up ahead, finds Cleo Mini. Long drive to Taylor Werner, had plenty of room to work with. She'll go back to Tucker. Wanted to go back to Werner. Goes inboard to Cleo Mini. Long drive. Werner did well. Cleverly collected, and she finds Hayley Howard. And it's about to be 38 goals the difference, and it is 64-26. Evans. Laterally to Gibbs. Evans eventually gets it back under her control. She'll go back to Gibbs as well. Inboard passes a good one to Evans. Wanted Collins. Just palms it back to Gibbs, who's been pretty busy in this passage. And now Lara Wanted Collins lines up the goals and doesn't convert. That's a pretty easy interception there for Louisa Suleimani. Foster-Jonathan receiving it from Milne. Mini, long drive to Werner. Wants to go long to Howard, but she pulls the pass to Tucker. She will put it up for Howard, and this does have to come back to Lex Tucker. Short feed is a good one to Werner, and Taylor Werner converts. 39 goals the difference, 65-26. Werner back to Tucker. Howard again wants it long. And here is Hayley Howard again, about to make this 40 goals a difference. No. Called for stepping. So, goal's not going to stand, but how about that interception from Cleo Mini? Straight back to Hayley Howard, who misses with the feed. So a couple of little mistakes here from the Blues, but not really going to matter. 39 goals ahead they are, and pretty late in this last quarter, so they do have the game sewn up. Maybe a few little bits of missed percentage, but not really going to matter, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. Wandon Collins all the way across to Evans, who made it work eventually. She misses the pass for Parsons, who couldn't keep it in play. Claire Minnie was going to get there anyway, so it didn't really matter. Milne at a defence. Out wide to Claire Minnie. Little unsure where to go, but eventually Taylor Werner presented a good option, but she's turned it straight over to Vander Westhausen. Finds Gibbs. Laterally to Milne. Inside the attacking third to Wandon Collins. Gibbs under pressure, but she goes back to Dobson. She finds Lara Wandon Collins. Long drive. And they've coughed it up again here, the River Pigs. Tucker goes to Cleo Mini. Finds Foster Jonathan. Long drive. Oh, Hayley Howe went the wrong way, and Elise Dobson cuts it off. Vander Westhausen. Unsure where to go. Goes short to Milne. She'll go short to Evans. Evans. Much longer this time to Gibbs, just keeping it in play, and then goes back to Evans. Finds Parsons. Gibbs. Made it work. To Wandon Collins. Laterally to Gibbs. Not really sure where to go in this goal circle, but Parsons did well. It was a good baseline drive, and she can maybe get this back to a 38-goal difference, and she can. 65-27, deep into the last quarter. Parsons. And how about that from Taylor Milne? And Seville on the counter-attack. Minnie to Werner, and then back to Cleo Minnie. Retreats to Louisa Suleimani, and was that over the third? Ball's gone out of play either way. It won't matter, because that will do us for the Rochford Wines match of the round in round 10 between Yarra, Glen and Seville. And the Blues stay undefeated in season at 2025. They move to a 9-0 record, and they just dominated the game from start to finish today and come away with a 38-goal victory. And they'll be very, very pleased with this performance against a fellow top 5 side. We'd like to thank everyone for tuning in.